Some stories should not be told, and some voices should not be heard in the dark, but you chose to click on this video. What you will hear tonight has actually happened, or maybe it is still happening now. Welcome to Creep Story, where fear begins. I still sleep with every light on. My therapist says it's anxiety. I know what it really is. In March of 2021, I signed a lease on a small two-bedroom house on Weller Street in Dayton, Ohio. It was a rental, affordable, quiet neighborhood, close to my new job at a distribution warehouse where I worked evening shifts. The house was built in the 1960s, all original hardware, and it smelled like old carpet and something faintly metallic I couldn't place. The landlord, a man named Gary, told me the previous tenant had left suddenly. He said it with a smile, like it was a joke. I didn't ask more. The first 2 weeks were normal. I unpacked. I set up the living room. I got used to the sounds, the furnace clicking on at odd intervals, the pipes groaning when I ran hot water. The front door had a deadbolt that stuck a little. I'd have to jiggle it to get out. I made a mental note to ask Gary about it. Then one night, about 3 weeks in, I came home from work around 11:45 p.m. I unlocked the front door, stepped inside, and set my bag down. I went to close the door behind me. The deadbolt was already in the locked position. From the inside, I had unlocked it from outside to get in. I remembered the jiggle, but the interior deadbolt knob was turned to locked, as if someone had locked it from inside while I was gone. I searched the entire house. Every room, every closet, under the bed. Nothing. I told myself the lock was faulty. Old hardware, probably some mechanical issue where it flipped on its own. It happened again 4 days later, and then again, always when I came home late. Always the deadbolt turned from the inside. I installed a Ring camera on the living room shelf, pointed at the front door. The first 3 nights, nothing. On the 4th night, a Tuesday, I still have the timestamp, at 2:17 a.m., the camera captured the deadbolt knob turning slowly. A quarter turn, then a half, then fully locked. No hand, no shadow, no vibration. Just the knob, rotating on its own, steady and deliberate, like someone invisible was standing right there. I showed the footage to my coworker, Derek. He watched it twice without speaking. Then he said, "That's not a malfunction. Something is turning that lock." His face was pale. I called Gary, told him about the lock. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Yeah, the last tenant mentioned something about the doors." I asked what he meant. He said he had to go and hung up. The next incident was different. I came home on a Friday night and the front door was unlocked, but every interior door in the house was locked. The bedroom, the bathroom, the closet doors, all locked from inside. I don't even have keys for the interior doors. Some of them don't even have locks. But they wouldn't open. I pushed, I pulled, I slammed my shoulder into the bedroom door. Nothing. Then, at exactly midnight, I heard them. One by one, in sequence. Click, 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 click. Every door in the house unlocked. Starting from the back bedroom and moving toward where I stood in the hallway. Getting closer. I didn't move. My legs wouldn't work. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my phone. The last click was the front door. The deadbolt turned, unlocked. The door drifted open, about 2 inches on its own. Like the house was telling me to leave. I left that night. I broke the lease. Gary didn't fight it. He didn't even charge me the fee. He just said, "I understand." That's what terrifies me most. He understood. He knew. I still have the Ring footage, saved on a hard drive in my closet. I've never watched it again, but sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't left when the door opened. What would have happened if I'd stayed, and the door had locked one final time, with me inside. There is someone in my house. I know that now. I've always known. I just didn't want to believe it. In the fall of 2019, I bought a house in Millville, New Jersey. A foreclosure, 2 stories, narrow lot, built in 1974. The price was low because it needed work. New plumbing, new drywall in the kitchen, the usual. I was living alone after a divorce and I wanted a project, something to fill the silence. The neighborhood was half empty. Lots of boarded windows and overgrown lawns. The air always smelled like damp concrete and cut grass from the one neighbor who still cared. I moved in at the end of September. The first floor was livable. The second floor was gutted. No furniture, no carpet, just bare plywood subfloor and exposed framing. I had no reason to go up there. The staircase was at the end of the first floor hallway, and I kept the door to it closed. About 2 weeks after I moved in, I heard it for the first time. Footsteps, above me, slow, deliberate, crossing from one side of the second floor to the other. It was 1:30 a.m. I was lying in bed, completely still, holding my breath. I told myself it was the house settling. Old wood. Temperature changes. I went back to sleep. Or tried to. It happened the next night. Same time, same pattern, left to right across the floor above my bedroom. Then silence. By the third night, I went upstairs with a flashlight. The plywood floor was covered in a thin layer of dust and drywall powder, and there, running in a straight line from the far wall to the top of the staircase, were footprints, bare feet, human, adult-sized, pressed clearly into the dust. There is no entrance to the second floor except the staircase I had just climbed. No exterior door, no fire escape. The windows were painted shut and hadn't been opened in years. I checked every one. I called my buddy Rich. He came over the next afternoon. I showed him the footprints. He didn't say anything for a while. Then he knelt down and pointed at something I had missed. The footprints didn't start at the wall. They started in the middle of the floor, as if whoever made them had appeared, standing, in the center of the room and then walked to the stairs. I covered the floor with a fresh layer of flour that night. A trick I read online. If something walked through it, I'd know. I sat downstairs with the staircase door open and waited. At 1:34 a.m., I heard it. Step, step, step. Slow and steady. Directly above me. I didn't go up until morning. The flour was undisturbed. Perfectly smooth. Not a single mark. But I could hear it. I heard every step. I set up an audio recorder, an old Zoom H1, and left it on the second floor overnight. In the morning, I played it back. For the first 2 hours, nothing. Then, at 1:31 a.m., the footsteps began. Clear as anything. Left to right. But there was something else on the recording I hadn't heard from downstairs. Breathing. Slow, steady breathing, like someone standing right next to the microphone, exhaling through their nose. The recording is still on my computer. I've played it for 3 people. 2 of them refused to come to my house after hearing it. The third, my neighbor Claudia, the only other person on the block, listened and got very quiet. Then she told me that the man who owned the house before the bank took it had sealed himself on the second floor for 2 weeks before anyone found him. She said he'd paced back and forth all day and all night. The floor was worn down in a line. I looked at the plywood upstairs. There is a path. A visible path, slightly darker than the rest, running from wall to staircase. Worn smooth. I put the house back on the market in January 2020. It hasn't sold. The listing agent told me people tour the house and seem interested until they go upstairs. They always come back down faster than they went up. One couple left without saying a word. I don't live there anymore. But I still own it. And sometimes, late at night, I check the security camera I left in the upstairs hallway. The feed is usually dark, still, nothing. But twice now, the motion alert has gone off at 1:30 a.m., and when I check the footage, the camera has been moved, turned to face the wall. I never go back to reposition it. It always ends up facing the hallway again by morning. If you liked the story, press like. found a room in our house that isn't on the floor plan. I haven't slept through the night since. My wife and I bought a 3-bedroom bungalow in Decatur, Georgia in June of 2022. It was our first house. Built in 1952. Original, brick, beautiful oak floors. We loved it. The neighborhood was established. Big trees, quiet streets, the kind of place where people wave from their porches. The house smelled like pine cleaner when we first walked in, and the afternoon light came through the front windows in a way that made everything glow. It felt safe. That was the word we both used. Safe. We started renovating in August. The master bedroom had old wood paneling on one wall that we wanted to replace with drywall. On a Saturday afternoon, I took a pry bar to the first panel. Behind it was plaster. Behind the plaster was a gap about 18 inches wide. I shined my phone flashlight in and saw another wall behind it. An interior wall that shouldn't have been there. I pulled more panels off. The gap ran the entire length of the bedroom wall, roughly 12 feet. At the far end, there was an opening, just wide enough for a person to squeeze through sideways. It led to a space, a room, maybe 6 feet by 4 feet, completely sealed off, with no door, no window, no ventilation. Inside, we found a folding chair, a blanket, old and moth-eaten, 3 water bottles, empty, labels faded, a flashlight with dead batteries, and on the inner wall, written in pencil at about chest height, a series of tally marks, hundreds of them, grouped in 5s, and below the tallies, one sentence: "They still don't know I'm here." My wife saw it first. She made a sound I've never heard her make. Not a scream, more like the air leaving her body. We both backed out of the room. I called the police. 2 officers came. They looked at the space. One of them took photos. They said it was likely a squatter situation from years ago, possibly decades, given the condition of the items. They filed a report, case number and everything. The older officer told me almost casually that hidden spaces in older southern homes aren't as uncommon as you'd think. He said it like that was supposed to make me feel better. It didn't. Because of what I found the next day. While cleaning out the space, I pulled up the blanket. Underneath it was a small notebook. Composition style, black and white cover. Most of the pages were blank, but the first 11 pages were filled with writing dates, times, and descriptions. Descriptions of us. Not the previous owners. Us. June 14th, they moved in today. 2 of them. She laughs loud. He snores. June 22nd. He almost found the gap behind the panel. Stopped when she called him for dinner. July 3rd, watched them sleep. Left before sunrise. June 14th was the day we moved in. The entries stopped on July 19th. The last one said, "Walls getting thin. Need to find a new spot. Maybe the attic." I have never moved faster in my life. I called a contractor that same afternoon. We had the entire house inspected, walls opened, attic searched, crawl space checked. They found nothing. No one. No sign of current occupation, but the contractor pointed out something that made my stomach drop. The hidden room had been resealed at some point. The plaster I broke through wasn't from 1952. It was modern compound. Someone had sealed that room shut from the inside and gotten out another way. A way we haven't found. We installed cameras in every room. Motion sensors. New locks. We've been here 3 years now. Nothing else has happened. Nothing I can prove. But last month, my wife noticed something. In our bedroom closet, the back wall sounds different when you knock on it. Hollow. She asked me to check it. I told her it's just the framing. I haven't checked it. I'm not going to. Because some part of me knows that if I pull that wall open, I'm going to find another chair, another blanket, and a notebook with new pages filled in. And this time, the dates will be recent. If you liked the story, press like. And if you felt the chills, subscribe now. And write in the comments, I am ready for the next story. Because in the next video, we have a story you will never forget.